All those attendants, please mute any electronic devices they have. Don't have any phone calls in the middle of the meeting. And for all remote participants, please keep their camera and microphone off unless they wish to speak, as this can inspect the quality of the meeting online. The meeting is being live webcast, and the recording will be retained on the council's website as according to the council data retention policy. I'd like to welcome everyone to this hybrid Sheppey area committee meeting, including those attending remotely. My name is Councillor Elliot James, and I'll be chairing tonight. The following Scarborough Council officers are in attendance. We have Head of Environment and Leisure, Martin Cassell, the Capital Programme Manager, Inga Lorraine, and the Capital Programme Officer, Zoe Henschel, who's online. And we have the Service Improvement and Project Manager online, Andre Bowen, and the Policy and Engagement Officer, Janet Dart. We also have in attendance KCC Councillor Maxwell Harrison, and we have a number of town and parish council in attendance. Councillor Michael Sheppey Parish Council, Councillor Paul Day from Leystown Parish Council, Councillor John Nerd from Minster Parish Council, Chris Reed from Shinnerstown Council, Councillor Linda Brinklow from Shinnerstown Council, Councillor Pat Sandel from Walden. Is Sue Simpson here? And Councillor Sue Simpson and Councillor Telford, is it? Yeah. From Queenborough. Yes, please name yourselves.
Councillor Lussick from Warden Parish Council, Councillor Oliver from Parish Council.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. And just Leystown.
Sorry, I didn't catch your name from Hilton.
Linda Russell.
Linda Rossler, thank you.
What was your name, sir?
James Morrison, Warden Parish.
Walden.
Gary Constant, Warden Parish Council. Councillor James, Paul James, Warden Leystown Parish Council.
Okay, thank you for that. If anyone would like to speak on any item, please raise your hand and I'll invite you in turn to speak.
Yeah.
Likewise, could anyone attending remotely please mute their microphone until they ask to speak? Agenda item 1 is the emergency evacuation procedure. Please be aware of the evacuation procedures following. In the event of emergency, we will assemble outside. There's no scheduled test of the fire alarm during this meeting. If the alarm does sound, please leave the building quickly without collecting any of your possessions by the fire exit and assemble outside as directed. Await instructions before re-entering the building. Should anyone require any assistance in evacuating the building, please can you indicate now? Okay. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies, Janet?
Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Andy Booth, Councillor Hayden Broad, Councillor Angela Harrison. Councillor Pete Neal may be late, but he was asked to note if you can't get his apologies. Councillor Mark Tuckett is not in attendance in person, but he is online. Does anybody know if Councillor Tom No is attending tonight? She's in Canada. Apologies then. Thank you very much.
The next item, are there any declarations of interest? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
So against the secondary school, places like number 7, just have to declare that I'm a school governor for Grove Street, Westminster and EKC secondary.
Okay.
Affected by the secondary cases.
Okay.
I don't plan to talk, but I am a governor at the Academy, Minister.
Is there any further indications? No. Okay, do members agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of February 2025, minutes number 603 to 612, and held on the 14th of May, minutes number 28 to 29 as a record? Thank you, I'll sign them in a minute. We now move on to agenda item 5, which is the Shinnerstown Bible project update, and I'd like to invite Inga Lorraine, the Capital Programme Manager, to update things.
So, just a moment. Inga, just to get the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. It seems like quite some time when I was last here, well, in Bloomtown to present to you an update on the Shinnerstown Bible projects. I'd like to start with some highlights since then. There's lots happened, and we've made some progress. We opened successfully the Adventure Golf, which is the first activity to come forward as part of the Beach Fields project, and that took place last week Friday. All three projects are now currently in construction work and refurbishment works as well. Master's House started last Monday, I'm pleased to announce. We have 5 local labourers working on the Beachfield Master's House sites and doing varying skilled work. And we have 15 young people recently hired by the leisure operator of Beachfields to serve as the adventure golf activity, which is due to open officially tomorrow. Due to the commitments from our contractors to source local labour services, we have Aztec scaffolders for sites. We have Juicens, which 80% of materials in Master's House is being sourced from. We also have rice bakers that we use for our events. And we have the Stones Garden Centre to thank for the planting across the adventure golf course. There are other things, items that the contractors are committed to do, such as support with antisocial behaviour and engagement with young people for the duration of the projects. The Beachfield update, since we last met, we finalised the stage 4 costs for the project. Demolition is 2 weeks ahead in terms of the internal works, and we are working with the contractor around antisocial behaviour. During the course of the last couple of months, we've had 3 separate incidents. One was attempted theft of a vehicle on site, attempted release of a guard dog, and a vagrant entered the building and slept overnight. We do have security on site, a man and dog, and we've increased our security across the site as a result of that. We are hoping to work with the local community in order to address antisocial behaviour, and we're working with the contractors and our community colleagues to that stage as well. The leisure operators are still on site and will operate on temporary porta cabins. And as I said before, the adventure golf is due to open tomorrow. There are the demolition works that are ongoing inside. The top left image in the previous GP area on the first floor. That, the bottom left, is now completely gone, because I said, 2 weeks ahead. So it's rubble at the moment, which we're compressing, finding roots on inside. So we've moved on a lot since then as well. I'd like to show you a video of the adventure golf, which I think this is the work that stage is needs to get ready with the last Friday. Education, of course, is historically valued. That's thanks to the children at EKC Secondary School and Rose Street Primary School who participated in the design. And they were able to participate in the event on the day. You can see their illustrations of the various landmarks that are important to the island that have been included in the course. And they had a putt last week Friday as well, which is why. I'd like to take this opportunity actually to thank the mayor as well, the leader of the council, deputy leader of the council, and all the councils and members, partners, and our collaborators who turned up on the day to notify, especially I'll move on to Sheppey College. There has been some murmurs that we're building a multi-story car park. I'd like to reassure everyone that that's not the case. We're currently building the facade, so it should look more like an extension of the current building. The interior works will start in the next few weeks. And there are currently, or was current, children on site, young people on site, as part of construction and work experience. And in terms of the works, once the internal works start, completion is expected at the end of the year, with open to students in January 2026. We have a video, a live video to show you what's happening on site. Thank you, Jen. Those are the images. As you can see, the top image, it does look like a multi-story car. I can give you an update on Master's House, which is a small little project. I'm pleased to say that we started on site last week after many months, so extended lead time in terms of getting materials on site. And slight delays, so now that we're on site, works are moving at pace. We are expecting to have a top announce ceremony for the milestone event next week Friday, and we are tackling anti-social behaviour as with this project with the contractors. They are going to install defence guards and a anti-climate paint to the lower level of the main building. Because there's been elements of anti-social behaviour abandonment and sort of breaking of windows and so on trying to enter the building itself. We will be working with a contractor across all projects to see if we can address that in a more meaningful way. Completion of Master's House is expected in autumn, and it's the first projects to come forward. We had an increase in engagement across all our social media platforms. We upped our social media output, and as a result of that, since the end of June, we've had 55,000 views across all platforms. We've had 12,000 reach, and that's 12,000 separate accounts. In comparison to the fact that we have 300 followers for the Sharing Survival page, that's quite a huge amount of engagement. There's been lots of positive comments around the adventure golf, lots of positive comments about the works going forward. What we've created with the adventure golf being the first project, the first activity to come forward is a high standard, good quality activity, and that will set the benchmark for all the other items coming forward, such as the tag active survey and leisure facility. We will be carrying forward a wide range of engagement across the community, not just with young people, not just with schools, but with the local high street businesses, independent businesses, to engage around the economy and what the impact of these projects can bring for the community. And we will be using other platforms such as Sheppey FM to get our messages across. We will be canvassing and we will be getting into homes or businesses just to spread the message and share information as to what's coming forward, so everybody's kept informed. The timelines of the projects have only changed slightly due to the delay in Master's House. We of course have the adventure golf, the main works that started at beach fields. We also have the refurbishment works starting last week. We had the adventure golf, which is due to open tomorrow. And of course, the completion of Masters House has been into completion of the college in December. And then the completion of the final project beach fields in May next year. We will use the opportunity to engage young people in the other activities coming forward, such as the outdoor gym and the tag active, so that we can bring something forward that they will participate in, that they will find or take ownership of to a degree. It will be multi-use, it will be cross-generational, but this is an opportunity for us to engage with, especially those hard to reach young people who will be more likely to engage in social behaviour vandalism across the island.
Okay, is there any questions or comments? I just want to remind everyone, questions should be on this update or to discuss the current project as planned. We cannot rehash the plan here and now. Any questions? Councillor Moore.
I think the event club was brilliant, and I'm just wondering why I made everything. Can you explain to me who was really involved with the pricing structure? And when you go through to try and look at it, it says you've only got an hour. If you're a family of 5 and you're spending out sort of £35, and you've only got an hour to play across 18 holes, if you've got youngsters, that's not a lot of time, and £35, I'd say, is not affordable to all working for a family of 5, because there seems to be no concessions either for carers or anything like that.
Yeah, through you, Chair, that's probably sits with me, Councillor Moore. The pricing was based upon a comparison with other leisure activities, so a trip to the cinema, a trip to the bowling, etc. And obviously comparable facilities across Kent. So there's one in Thanet that's of a similar standard, there's one in Deal that's of a similar standard. Obviously the operator operates one at Maidstone, at Moat Park as well. So we took pricing from around the county on that. What we've done is, because we knew that we were only being handed the facility just ahead of the school holidays. So really, truthfully, we focused on that peak period, just getting it ready and having set pricing. Obviously, outside of those peak areas, that gives us the ability to have a bit more of a play with pricing. So we've already talked about pricing promotions for local residents, etc. That may well come to it. We'd really like in times where it's not peak time. And as an example, 63 people booked for tomorrow already, based upon those prices. What we would like to do is make it available for groups. So whether that be at a schools rave, cuppas and brownies raves, or even for businesses for team building activities, etc. So really and truthfully, the pricing is to start. We're going to monitor it over time. Obviously, we will make sure that it's not sitting there empty. So if we have priced it too high, we'll know pretty quickly. And we've got that flexibility to be able to respond quickly with that. In terms of the hour, what we suggested with the operator is that in order to control usage, that it's within our windows, but clearly if you're at hole 15 after your hour has completed, you're not going to be kicked off the course. So it's more about how do we control how many people roughly are in the course during that hour. So it's certainly not going to be the case that it's restricted and if you're done, you're done.
I think that might need to be
Yeah.
put out there, because I think if the 60 minutes and I know I've got sort of, all of them are sort of 5 to 10 that like children, I'm not going to bother going, because in case, you don't know, that they might, you might get kicked out. I know, and like I say, concessions obviously as well, I think you need to look at that, because everywhere offers a free carers ticket for anyone needing a carer. So we don't want to seem to be ignoring people.
Yeah, absolutely. The more feedback, the better, as far as I'm concerned, councillor, because we've never run one of these before. We're basing it upon pricing that's around and about that the operator's got experience for, but not everything suits every site. So it's going to be one of those that we need to be flexible, and we know we need to be flexible on that.
Thank you.
Councillor Reid.
Thank you. Yes, it's a slightly similar question, given that we are in an area of deprivation. How many or how much activities are there going to be generally in the whole revival business, which are actually free, which people can just take part? I have previously several times suggested a ping pong table. I hope that has been taken up, because in London parks there are many of those. I went to a London park the other day where there were these sort of gymnastic poles, and there was young chaps on them, and they were helping the little children, and it was wonderful, and they could just go along and give them nothing. Whereas obviously there's the golf, there's the tag thing, it's all going to be costing money.
Thank you. We do have the outdoor gym that's coming forward, and they will have multiple equipment on there that can be used. We also have a mugger, which is a multi-use games area that would include the football pitch, basketball. So various games can be played. It is free to access, and so will the external gym. And of course, we have the board, which is having a slight facelift.
Are we still going to have a tennis court?
Oh, the tennis court's already there. We're just providing that slightly.
Right, good.
Councillor Worcester.
I've got three questions that members of the public asked me to raise. One of them, a bit more ongoing because we've had a bit of heat wave. They're very concerned about the guard dogs that are helping support the site. Because obviously we know why they're there, and the question was just are we keeping an eye on making sure that they're not being treated like a resource? Dog lovers, there's lots of them on the island, so I can see why the conversation was coming forward. The second, just quite legitimate question, was around waste. Already it's been noticed that whether it's the time of year, whether it's the golf course, there's been an increase in litter around the golf course. Are we taking account of that? Do we need to have a look? Do we need another public bin there along the top where the structures are above the golf course to help out with that maybe? And the third question, which I thought was brilliant, that's actually come forward from a air cadet locally, and they said, "Oh, our plane looks lovely, but wouldn't it be lovely to see an RAF roundel on it?" Because obviously the history of the area isn't just aviation, it's RAF, it's church. And I met the designer for the plane that was there. He was incredibly enthusiastic about it. And I thought maybe if it's an artistic thing that you didn't want the roundel there, maybe there's something we could just add to the plaque that was there potentially to have that, because that's a massive part of the island's history, not just yoga, but having the active RAF base on site as well. Those were my three things.
Well, it was a labelling station before it was at Rare.
I'll start with the first question, and I kind of understand now why someone tried to let that dog loose. We are taking every precaution that we can. We are taking every precaution that we can on site to ensure its safety and that it's treated humanely. That's all I can really say. I'm really keep track of that. And report back if that's necessary. In terms of waste bins, we are looking at the provision of bins across the whole site. In a wider view, we are looking to collaborate with McDonald's to provide those bins and to tidy up the area in terms of the public realm. So planters by the main entrance, and just making it look much more inviting, much more welcoming, and more attractive. So that's on consideration in terms of the bin provisions.
And we're working with the local police beat officers, are we, to look at the ASB for the area, because obviously some of the litter that's coming forward from very well known litter picker in the area. So I completely trust his opinion on this, because he's got a lot of experience. Is that actually it's alcoholic containers it's quite a dangerous thing, so we probably wouldn't want around a golf course that is set up as a family orientated area. And quite rightly, it was raised to me, and I think it's really important that we take that seriously. If we're expecting extra football there, then maybe we should be making plans to not just have an extra bin there, but look at the frequency of emptying. Because I also don't want to see people like Sheppey Matters who run a regular litter pick in that area, feeling quite demoralised, because actually they're coming back week or month after month and kind of feeling that they're stepping into where Swale should be, which is in the management of waste in that area.
It takes lots to demoralise them, the Hardy bunch. Gentleman over there.
What is the prevention if we're doing all the work in Sheerness? We're putting together a football club in Gordon Bay. What would be your views on it? What help could you give us? Because everything seems to be going to the other side of the island and not coming down here.
Your local borough council regularly raises your end of the island. I'll pass it over to Mark.
Yeah, so that, the green spaces team sits with me as well, so, we often provide support to local football clubs, and so if somebody is wanting to set up, we can point you in the right direction, so come to the council. Obviously, Kent Football Association are your best port of call, they have funding for exactly that type of thing, so grants that you can apply for getting the equipment, the goalposts, etc. So yeah, absolutely. Anyone thinking of setting up sports clubs, more than happy to point you in the right direction.
Thank you.
Phil?
Yeah, can I just ask, several people have asked me already, what will happen to any profits that are made on the golf course? Will that be coming back to benefit the local community, or will it be going into Serco's coffers?
So obviously with any contractor, we have to pay them to be able to operate. But or beyond the contractual agreement, any profits will go into subsidising the leisure contracts. So you might or might not be aware, sorry, I should have said through you, Jen, I just launched in. We just literally this week pressed the button on the new leisure contracts tender, which will come into operation from April 27. So Swale Community Leisure, who are a contractor with their partner Serco, will operate it until the end of March 27, and then, you know, depending on who wins the tender, they will operate from then on. So what we're doing, what we've got at the moment is an agreement. So we're monitoring what it costs to operate. As I say, we've never run an adventure golf course before. So once you take out staffing and maintenance and keeping it as the high quality facility it is, we still hope to be making some income from that. And if we do, then it's invested back into the leisure facility.
Councillor Telford?
Can I ask the official opening last week of the golf course? Were any town councils or parish councils invited to this opening? If the answer is no, I don't, it's an island event.
Thank you. Okay, so it was the soft launch last week Friday, and the official opening tomorrow. My understanding is that the full list went out to all councillors and all ward councillors. I can take that away.
Okay, so I've had some questions in from the public on this item. One was they've seen the skate park being removed. They just want to know if that's going to return.
You want me to take that one as well? The skate park, as you know, as many of you know, was very old. Unfortunately, it's not survived the test of time. There, when it was taken out, there are a number of things that we found that mean that it's not repairable in its current form. So there isn't currently the intention to replace it in its location. So the area that is freed up from that skate park area is part of the paddling pool extension area. Obviously, with the cafe being operated in the leisure centre, we're facing out onto the paddling pool now. we feel that we need more space for chairs, tables, etc. for making the paddling pool environment. I don't know, I'm sure you've all been there on a busy summer day. It's very congested. We feel that actually a greater space in and around that paddling pool was the right option for that area. That's not to say that we can't pursue options for escape park in other locations. Clearly that costs money, and skate park design has moved on massively since the installation of those ramps, having been involved in a number over the years myself. So that's not to say that skate parks is a complete non-starter, but in that location and with that existing ramp, it wasn't feasible to bring it back.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
yeah, please do.
The toilets that you've got on the spinny, are they gonna be closed?
So that's on the later agenda item, but we will come to that.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, we move on. Thank you for that. You're free to play though. Agenda item number 6 is the customer access strategy. We have service improvement and project officer Andre Bowen, who is joining us online, is going to give us a presentation on the customer access strategy.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I'm the service improvement and project manager here at Swale Borough Council. And currently one of the projects I'm working on is the review of the customer access strategy. Swale's current customer access strategy was written in 2013 to ensure easy, clear and convenient access to all Swale services for all. While the overarching aims still exist, the way this is achieved needs to be revisited. In the last decade alone, there's been a shift in local demographics, political control, technological developments, social norms post-COVID-19, Brexit, and soon to be devolution. Here we go. So in this presentation, we'll show the various channels available to customers currently, the trend in customer contact over the last few years, the stages of reviewing the customer access strategy, a little about the customer experience survey, and we'll also look at how many responses were received and the most important questions we have. And at the end, I'm happy to make note of any other suggestions or respond to any questions as best as I can. Okay. So currently there's a variety of ways customers can contact us. That is either face-to-face, telephone, email, self-service, or via post. Each have their strengths and weaknesses. However, the findings from this review will enable us to shape this as needed by our customers.
Andre, could you speak up, please?
Sure, it's pretty hard to do something. That's why I said, Sure.
Yeah. Let me just try it on the actual device as well.
We're just trying to sort it out, Andre. If not, I think it's moved back and start next part.
No problem. I'll try and speak up a bit louder as well meanwhile.
That's better. Well,
Yeah.
that's better.
Okay. So data obtained over the last few years shows a pattern at Swale where we serve the most people through the self-service option, followed by telephone, email, and then face-to-face. However, this data does not show all self-service transactions, such as when residents use our bin tool, which is very popular. However, tools like the bin tool, this reduces the number of contacts we received on our other channels. So our new customer access strategy review aims to ensure that our customers have the best possible experience, benefiting from accessible and high quality services. To shape the outcomes of this strategy, we sought the views of our residents. We also listened to our business partners, the voluntary sector, staff, and our members. We conducted a customer experience survey. So this was published online between 5th of May and 16th of June. It was advertised on our social media accounts and newsletters. There were also posters at Swale House, the Alexander Centre, at Swallows Leisure Centre, and Sheppey Leisure Complex. Residents who wanted paper copies or needed assistance with a form were supported by Swale Community and Voluntary Services, as advertised. In all, we received back 129 responses. 104 were submitted online, and a small portion took part in our free 7-day gym, swim and workout classes membership giveaway as well. Okay, so on to our burning questions. We want to know which methods are used most for contacting us for information or assistance, as this will help us to allocate resources accordingly. So with the assistance of the chair, if there are any comments on methods that are used, I'll take that.
So how many of you use face-to-face services such as the Sheppey Gateway to communicate with the council? So that's none, Andre. How many use the telephone to contact them? That's about 20% of people in here. How many use self-services for the website, online forms? That's a similar amount, 20%. And how many people use email? That's another 20%.
All right. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. We also would like to know, how satisfied are you with the various services, the various options we have? So are there any concerns regarding our face-to-face or website, email or telephone?
In terms of the self-service, it's not too difficult to communicate that there's a problem. The difficulty is getting an answer. So, and I think that will be the same for all of your burning questions. It's quite, whichever one you use, you can ask the question. My problem, nobody ever gets back to me, either officially or, via an email. I never know whether it's gone to an officer. Nobody knows where your question has gone to. So if I, for example, on behalf of the parish council, say that there's 4 bins being vandalised, I put the photographs on there of what's happened, I put the location on, then nothing happens. So it's not a question of the communication, it's a question of what happens after.
Follow up, yeah.
That's my big issue.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll take that.
Gentleman behind you.
One of the things is when you use a telephone, try to get through to them and you're all there for about an hour and it suddenly says they're too busy or something like that, we'll try again.
Okay. Councillor Worcester.
One question is around how third parties interact with Swale. So, for example, if we've got a third party that is helping a vulnerable resident, so for example, gain access to services, are we doing anything around work to facilitate, for instance, Teams meetings, bookable Teams meetings, bookable Zoom meetings, so that, for instance, I've been often at Swale House in the morning when Swale House shuts down its customer services or on Friday or something, And people have travelled a long way to get to our house to talk about something really relevant to them. It might be homelessness, it might be something to do with other access, council tax or something. And they just turned away because they didn't know about shutting times or whatever. When actually lots of other organisations run the ability to book a meeting with the organisation they would like to talk to, stay in their own homes or be with people like supportive relatives or a third party, for instance, Iranian Army or Age UK, to help facilitate better access to the services that other people might take for granted. For example, one resident I helped was brown bin. They turned up to Minster Parish Council, had trouble accessing Swale's system on the telephone. They gave me permission to help negotiate that with them on the telephone with Swale. That had a happy ending, which was good news. But there's lots and lots of people that tell me they have issues of that nature where they need more support to gain access. Thank you.
Andre, is that one we need to do a written response to that question?
Sorry, say that question again, please.
So the question from council was, that's one we'll get a written response for further down.
We aim to incorporate that in our action plan of the strategy. So in terms of identifying where those who might need additional support, how we can best support and make it easier for them to access services.
Okay, Councillor Nunn.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd say quite unsatisfied because on several occasions, members of the public emailed me saying that they've tried to use the self-service mechanisms on the website. They've tried to find information out on the website. They've tried to find the right person to contact on the website, but can't find it. I'm more than happy to help people, but I don't think this Scarborough Council website is fit for purpose. I think it needs a real revamp, but I think it needs to be a lot easier to use. Because if someone can't find that information out, they're then having to make a phone call, which potentially could be avoided. It's to allow someone that hasn't got access to the internet or has struggles to use the internet or computers. It makes it hard for them to then get through on the phone because the information is missing from the website. From a personal note, I'd say it's very much department dependent. I think some departments have less work. I'm not saying that they're sat around sticking brains up their nose, that's unfair. But perhaps the influx of emails that they're getting is perhaps less than another department. So planning, they're going to be inundated with emails. So you expect a slightly delayed response there, but that isn't communicated very effectively at times with members of the public.
Councillor
Generally, I find access to planning to be very unsatisfactory. In the story.
Yeah. So we had a discussion yesterday about
their children stuff.
So as councils, we can email into them and there will be a number shared hopefully in the week for councils to find directly in any day. So hopefully that will answer the council query. Councillor Greenwood.
Yeah, in a way, I'm replicating something that Mohammed said. I actually reported online some rubbish that's in Fairtown, and I just ended up going round and round and in the circle. So in desperation, I got on the telephone and I rang them. They did reply, and the reply was that they couldn't do anything about it because it was on a public land. It was just at the entrance of somebody's driveway. It wouldn't take a great deal of effort to actually push it out into the road to take it away. But as far as I know, that rubbish is still there. So it wasn't a very satisfactory situation. And it's definitely having an impact on that particular area of the overall view of it.
There is a team in the council that can look to try and enforce removals from private land. Clearly, that involves contacting the landowner. I think, as is clear, the council has enough difficulty clearing public land rather than litter on private land as well. So I think it's whilst it might not be the answer that people were looking for, what what I think should have happened in your case, councillor, was that we were able to contact the private landowner to see whether they could take action.
I think that's one we'll take with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, councillor one.
Yeah, I think a couple of things, I think we've, knowing that I spoke to other councils and they've completely sort of ditched the telephone face to face and everything has to go through email in that respect, I think that would be the worst thing to do, because I think a lot of people will still use the telephone and face to face option. The self-service isn't as easy as what it's made out to be. I mean, I've had sort of residents come to me and say about rubbish, but they can't report it because they can't get the self-service. So which then I've reported it, but then I get told I shouldn't report it. It's the residents that have got to report it. So I think it does mean, I think I agree, the website and the self-service needs to be looking at, do whatever we do now. I don't think everything face to face and phone goes.
No, definitely not. Okay, so we've heard about lack of feedback, the website needs updating. Personally, I'd like to see a callback option. If people are waiting over an hour, that's unacceptable. And I know we all know about the dreaded waiting for your doctors, hold your doctors. I know my doctors offer a callback option, so, and they're normally called back within sort of 20 minutes. So we do have quieter periods as a council where the phones don't ring as much, and that's when the online traffic gets picked up. So if there's a callback option going forwards, I think that'd really help.
Perfect.
And I think we also need to be sharing the email address of the the customer services centre. But I think it's hidden and less known to go to the public. I think that would help. Over to you, Andre.
Okay, so I know it is quite apparent that the time where the offices are opened are not always suitable for everyone. So in terms of our current opening hours, what would you suggest would work best? We may not be able to offer a 24-hour service, but if we can find a good match or a good compromise that will work best for customers, we can try and work towards that. But we do want to gauge what ideas people might have.
Okay, this is the floor. Any comment on that one? What times would be more convenient? Councillor Moore?
I think a late opening, so whether it be start later and then finish later, because a lot of people don't finish work till 6 o'clock, maybe even later than that. And I think that is one of the issues a lot of the time around doctors is a lot of the doctors, especially this end, close at 6 o'clock. If you don't finish work till 6, you can't get an appointment. So I think that the option of whether it's once a week or like 2 days sort of, I think that definitely a late night, not too late, but obviously a later opening option is needed.
Excellent idea. Councillor Worcester.
I was just going to say, I support that comment because sometimes we put limits on the way that people report. So, for example, if your road has been missed in terms of collection, food, recycling or generic rubbish, you only have 2 days to report, which means that, for instance, if you're a working person or shift work or something of that nature, it means that you are getting less representation there than potentially somebody who is at home, who can have more access to Swale to report these things. And I think that makes a big difference in terms of the dynamics of different areas, especially online. Because obviously places where we need most help in those congested areas, for example, where there are lots of terrace houses in a row and potentially lots of flats that are there. I think some people find it difficult to keep to that 2-day limit. And if that's happening there, it could possibly be happening in other areas of the council where we're kind of saying, actually, you're doing the right thing, you're going out to work, you're doing the best for your family, but actually your limit, you're then limited to the services that you're in fact paying for because of council taxes, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, back to you, Andre.
Yeah. And I'm going to oh, actually, additional solutions. So
I
if,
think we've,
sorry, say that again, please.
I think we've covered that just from the feedback in the room.
And yeah, let's go on to, so from the survey results, we found that there was more of a need for developing skills rather than access to smart devices or internet. Would the Sheppey Area Committee agree that is the case, or is it the inverse, or is it a slightly more complicated answer?
That's well. So the big question on screen, do you and your constituents have access to both the internet or smart devices? And are your constituents capable of using our service options confidently? I think we've heard that some people don't feel confident and they don't always work. Councillor Moore?
I think, the lack of knowledge around the smart devices and the internet, I think is quite well known, which is why there was starting up a sort of drop-in, here, I don't know where it's based, but it's up here somewhere, to gain knowledge. So I think it is that, and the lack of possibly the internet sort of services. It's very hit and miss, this end of the island, depends who you're with and everything, and whereabouts you are. Obviously, there's no access to the super fast fibre and everything, I think, so, you know, some people don't have the speeds and everything to run multiple different things. So I think you having access, whether it be with the surveys and stuff like that, I know you said you put them in the legislature and bits and pieces, but put them in village halls and places, because that's going to capture a lot of the local residents rather than just the legislators. Doctors, surgeries, there's so many places you can put actual surveys to get them all back.
One stop roadshow, they've been very good place for the consultation. Councillor Wilson next, and Councillor Lindley.
Just really quickly, sometimes when we talk about access to these sort of things, we talk about it. You have got Asian population nationally, absolutely. But I'd just like to highlight neurodiversity here and say that actually what some people need is just a kind person that will sit with them and help them engage with what is being needed for. All of these services are set up for people who A, can read what's on the screen, B, can click around lots of different internet pages and find their way in the battlefield. And often it's the people who are persistent that are the ones that get heard rather than the people that have the most need. So I think it's much more about, for example, when we walk into the Gateway Centre in Sheerness, for example, we have a tiny little library, not much access to internet technology, and also not a huge amount of access to staff that, for instance, when somebody's having an issue with logging on or understanding what is actually meant or what is needed for a situation, that can actually spend the time with them. So, for example, I know as far as I recall, but there is a decrease in the reception hours there. So, for example, it could have been that the receptionist at the Gateway Centre could be that support network for people potentially. But if we're limiting hours and we're limiting staff the whole time, there is going to be a knock-on effect, and it isn't going to be with the people that, for instance, shout the loudest or have great literacy skills, or, for instance, can process things immediately. Other people need help, and other people are just as much right to have an input with their council services that potentially won't even now approach the Gateway Centre, because even if they do, they know that they're asking questions in public. They've got to be vulnerable and ask quite, intrusive questions out loud because of the way the reception area is set up there. And if you want to have access to some service, you've got to go upstairs and things. It just needs thinking about more on how to be kinder to people and how to be much more inclusive through kindness rather than what's always best for the balance sheet, I think.
Councillor Nundy.
Thank you, Chair. I think the last two speakers have hit the nail on the head quite emphatically. I think to ask the question, do you and your constituents have access to both the internet or smart device? I think that's almost a moot question to ask, because it stands to reason that some people will, but some people just won't. Some people haven't got the money to, some people haven't got the ability to use the devices or the understanding of technology to do so. But what are the council doing in terms of when there's a consultation, just as an example? Are we putting adverts in local papers? Is there a better way of doing it? Because advertising on Facebook, paper copies are available. That feels like shutting the state of all sorts of God, because if you've got the access to those to the internet and you see that, the difficult bit is finding that post, not completely determined, because that's clicking buttons and typing a couple of bits. I do think there's more that could be done to support and to engage with people that either can't use, or people that haven't got access to that technology. I think it's something that's well really lacks. Certainly picking up on what council, picking up on what council was said a moment ago. Yeah, you know, the person with disabilities, to be honest, people that can't read properly, people with dyslexia, what are they actually doing to support that? Because a lot of that is, you've already got a website, so changing it a little bit is going to cost a great deal more. I don't think it would cost a lot, but I think it might actually engage members of the community that might probably feel disenfranchised.
Janice, you want to answer one question?
Yeah, certainly with consultations that go out, normally officers will find ways to make sure that they can reach people who don't have internet access, and there's normally a press release that goes out to the local papers. So efforts are made to reach everybody. I know it's impossible to reach everybody, but certainly we do try, and that's why we've got a consultation toolkit, and part of that is to make sure that you use all the forms of getting the information out and making paper copies available.
Sorry, Jenny, just to say though, on the last 3 consultations, especially like in the bank, I was trying to have with paper copies at the bank for days, getting people to respond. If I do that at work, I'm the one that's pushing on the different departments to say, please, can I have the paper copies? And then nobody ever comes to me.
Yeah.
Nobody ever makes those routes available to me. And I feel like I'm robbing for doing it as well. So I'd really love it if there was an actual route where, for instance, all councillors can just say, there is that opportunity and you can make it available. Towns and parishes especially, I mean, Lansdowne is a perfect example. This parish knows their residents far better than any of our council officers, no offence unless you live here, I suppose. But I think they're the right people to be speaking to people on consultations. But paper copies, I often feel, when a resident has brought it up with me before, that do you not feel you're biasing resident because you're the only ward councillor that goes out and distributes and gets answers for paper copies? And the answer is possibly, but I'm not going to stop doing it. But really, we need to make that an open door for people to push it. And it's not just us. KCC consultations are exactly the same. They're quite happy to provide me with paper copies, but I'm the one pushing for it all the time. I have to navigate KCC, and it's far worse than navigating SWACL to be able to get the right people's opinions into consultations, because it's not just about people who can respond. Often it's about, we want the voices of the people who find it difficult to respond, and they are paper copy people sometimes.
Yes. Now we can feed that back, and obviously we're really grateful to councillors when you do, like you do, like Councillor Worcester, you get out and make sure that people in the community get paper copies. So, but yeah, I'll feed that back. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I think the answer to the bottom 2 questions is not everybody. And we've just heard that support everything that's just been said. I had a case recently, somebody wanted to order a new bin. They had no idea how to do it. They didn't know what the telephone number of the council was, they couldn't phone, they don't use it, they haven't got the internet in their house. They simply don't know. A friend of a friend knew my phone number, so they phoned me up and I could order them a bin. And they've got their bin, and that's all very good. They had no idea. They couldn't have done it because they didn't have the information. And that's the fault of the council for not ensuring they had that information. I get the point that we can try to do everything. Press releases work. You know, we've got Jeremy tonight, we've got John here tonight. They'll put out a press release, which is great. Whether they've got room to actually put it in the Times Guardian is a different matter. But if we paid for an advert, then they would put it in the paper. And we know it would go in rather than taking a chance that shows news is going to pick it up and say, yeah, we're going to run that. But on a very tight week when we haven't got much space in the paper. If you pay for it, they'll put it in. So I would suggest that we consider paying for space to advertise some of these consultations. And just so we can answer the question to Andre and his team, do people have access? No, not everybody. Are the constituents capable of using it? No, not everybody. So then the question then for Andre is come back to us as members and tell us what you're going to do about it. I suppose that's what we're doing, you know, which is what we're trying to get. We're raising the questions and I'm sure they've been heard. And the thing is also the demographic, possibly, I'm not going to stereotype it, but the demographic of those who come to me who cannot use or do not use the internet and can't access our services online are the demographic that would go out and buy a local newspaper and still do go out and buy. Some of the very few who still go out and buy a local newspaper and don't rely on Kent Online for their news. So I think there is a way to reach those, and I think it's through paid advertising.
You're so right, mate.
Like in the front row first.
Before we parish council, maybe look at the properties like where do I renew in on a small scale. I want that it goes to every house in the house. I produce it on publisher and I've got a whole page in there of if you want to report this or if you want to, I can put things in there. All of the things, all those common things that people want to contact the council for, I have navigated my way sometimes through about 10 links to get to the right email, the right telephone number for them to do, and I'll put them all in our newsletter. So, you know, if all the parish councils start doing that, then, you know, it can maybe work from the bottom up rather than the other way down.
Maybe we should get the money back off them.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I agree with, Dolly said, paper copies from people are much easier to complete than get them back. It's just, if you were to notify the parish councils, then they've got the added expense of running up copies. Whereas the council can run off copies, or they did, used to be able to run off lots of copies quite cheaply in their own establishment. And if a parish council is notified and they say, right, send us 100 copies, I'm sure parish councillors would go out and take some of those out. I know I would, to people living in your area. And then someone put them back as one word. It would get a better response.
I just want to check, we're doing manual consultations to all the parish councils.
I can only speak for the ones that I've done. I do.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we should do.
I think that's seen our moving forwards, because if I can respond to these ladies, please also don't feel that you have to navigate and find it yourselves. Obviously, we have the local parish forum that our chief exec and PA organise. So come through to us if you can't find something. Ask us, because we would love you. You know, I live in a village myself, and our parish council will have that handy page at the back of the newsletter that says for this ring here, for this email there. It's so helpful, but don't feel you need to find it all yourself. Ask us, and we'll tell you.
And if you want paper copies, email me all council and they can get them printed off and dropped off to parish council.
With the waste contract consultation, we did produce hard copies, and again, I'm very grateful. A lot of parish councils did circulate them, and that did work very well.
Of course you can.
why can't you put it in the notice board? The phone numbers of what you can help people with, you can help people with, and you, the lady there. I don't want to be rude. I've come down here for, what, how many years now? I'm 85 and I've been coming here for 60 years. And the elderly don't understand it. I can talk it, but I can't write it. And if I can read it, yes, but when you explain to people that's not as interested in councillors and MPs like I am, they don't know. And everybody assumes that they have said what they've said, and they're usually probably educated people, they think. But there's people who's more educated than them, and no insult. But they've got to understand, right? They sign things off, and it's not true, the numbers that says we'll go ahead with it.
Councillor Strickland, you don't 30 seconds, please proceed.
I just want to mention Swell Your Way, because obviously that goes out to every household. And what I don't want to do is miss that out when we're talking about it, because a lot of people on Sheppey rely on Swell Your Way. Maybe we can have a look at the sort of information that's involved with that publication. Is it quite right for the need? Are the publications going out on the right amount? Is that a way, for instance, of looking at our own advertising, our own consultation and things like that? That needs to be looked at as part of the wider comm strategy, I think.
Well done for keeping it for a second. Thank you, Andre. I hope that was all useful feedback.
Perfect.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you,
Next item, agenda item 7. We had invited the Director of Education at KCC to come to this meeting. Oh, I'll go back to it. Second school. So we invited the Director of Education for KCC to come here and speak to us about the mess that has been secondary school education this year. As you'll see, there's three of us at the front here in the empty chair where the Director of Education should be. They've not attended. I don't think they've provided an update or answer to our questions. No. As such, I don't want to move on to this item, move straight on from this item, but without them, we cannot influence this. I would like to only allow a selection of 3 people in here to speak on this. Councillor Moore, I'd like you to be one of them.
Could you turn the lights on then?
Can we turn them?
Yes. Councillor Moore.
Yeah, as far as updates go, parents are. Not knowing what is going on. Emails being sent to KCC councillors, the cabinet member for education, and still waiting on replies. I mean, it's very emotional for the children. As I say, I'm affected. I have been consoling my daughter for 2 since March, but the last 2 days at the end of school, saying goodbye to all of her friends, coming there all around secondary school in September, and she has nowhere to go. She has not got a space. And the children this end of the island as well, because we don't live in the 2-mile catchment area of the 2 schools. How a school on the island is allowed to put up a 2-mile catchment area is absolutely disgusting. Parents have had no help whatsoever. We've had meetings upon meetings upon meetings, promised this, that, the MP, the KCC councillors, and we're just still got going with it. We're having to deal with it ourselves. So I can tell parents feel completely let down. They have no sort of trust in what's going on in anything anyone says anymore. There's a WhatsApp group that I'm on where parents regularly speak. I posted an email I sent to the 2 councillors from Sheppey and the cabinet member for education, because I sat through and watched the full council meeting at KCC, and not once in any of the questions did anyone bother to bring up that there are children on Sheppey with no schools. Not once was it brought up at all. And I thought that was disgusting. How can you sit there at a full council meeting when you're asking some questions and not say that my residents haven't got a full place? It was silent. There was nothing. And I felt absolutely disgusted. to think that this is our children, this is the future of this island, this borough, and we are just letting them down because it's only going to get worse. You've got how many houses been approved on the island?
I have a motion in front of me.
Well, I have got a motion going in at full council about this, and I just hope that I get a full council support, because the parents and the kids down here, what they are going through at the moment is disgusting. And the kids are depressed, you know, we talk about mental health. This is what we're doing, you know, these kids are the ones that have gone through COVID, so we lost virtually 2 years of their education and seeing their friends. Now, you're telling them, well, you can't go to school. You've got to travel 27 miles to school. And then most parents were told they need to either walk or cycle because they're cutting back on transport. I'd like to see anyone cycle to Faversham from this end of the island, which is taking your life right much engine deal.
Let's learn 11-year-olds.
Let alone an 11-year-old. And safeguarding as well, letting 11-year-olds, whether it be male or female, travelling, they have to leave here at 5:30 in the morning to get a bus to school for 8:30. Now, safeguarding, how many of them kids are going to get, you know, God forbid, how many of, you know, they could be raped, they could be stabbed, they could, all in the media at the moment, there is about these abductions, and we're expecting to let our children go to school 27 miles away.
They could just make one turn over on the side street and you're 30 miles away from them.
We can't get to them. But we can't, you know, and then we've got other children on the island, or, you know, myself personally, I've got a child at home with STEM needs, who KCC would just ignore most of the time. I've got a child, obviously, who has been trying to be sent 27 miles away, and I've got one in primary school. Where? And then you get the comment on the national news that, oh, they have parents, so the parents should transport. What, am I meant to split myself in three to get to 3 different schools?
They're already starving because there's been hours where they can't speak and take whatever it takes to get to the school. They've already had the breakfast probably at 6:30. And they won't get a lunch, will they, till 11 and 12 o'clock?
You know,
And you're doing it inadequately to your children.
there is no new plans for any new education facilities, secondary school wise, on the island, which I think is disgusting. When we've got the amount of houses, it's just unsustainable.
I know that in emotion.
No,
Yeah, no, thank you. I have to down before you.
about it, because I think it's our future generation, we're failing them.
Councillor Worcester.
Just really quickly, I put a petition up on KCC's website to look at this, and the sole point of that petition is to try and get it to a number of people that means it can be wheeled out in front of the education committee over at KCC. And if you can do it, the full council over at KCC, because like Leanne just said, they had the opportunity to bring it up at full council at KCC and they chose not to. And that to me is absolutely unacceptable. And we're trying everything we can. The parents have been amazing. They've stuck together, they've tried and they've tried and they've tried and they've tried to highlight it with KCC, the MP, everywhere. And they've literally, we've got less than a month because we know that KCC shuts down in August. All councils do their restricted usage, all that sort of stuff. And that's entirely unfair. Why have we got children, some of the children on the same street being offered a school place and some of them either not being offered a school place or being offered a space over in Faversham? So if anybody sees the petition, I'd be really grateful if you could sign and share. And we're also looking for places that want to hold a petition for us in hard copy so that we can do the joint approach of sign it, but also the online signatures as well. But I think it's brilliant, and I want to give a portion of it. I would definitely be supporting your motion.
Thank you, Councillor Worcester. Thank you, Tom.
Yes, I'd like to, as you know, I did do a petition and.
I remember you were still, sir.
Right, okay. Yeah, but I mean, our education system was extremely high at one time when my father was teaching, and it was destroyed by the then county council. And it seems that again, Sheppey is dumped on, frankly. When I was teaching, they put some temporary classrooms up because there wasn't enough accommodation. And they only built one school, which is why we had the 9 to 13, the middle schools, because that saved them building two or three massive schools. Now they know the numbers, you've only got to look at the population. And you know that with new houses, there'll be some more requirement for primary schools. It didn't look like me can spot that, but I should be at County Hall on Monday and I will see what I can do because I think it's, each pupil gets a premium to the schools. And somehow or other, I know there's one gentleman here from one of the schools that I think we need to persuade them if we can to make something far more satisfactory. Because it's totally unsatisfactory the shenanigans that's gone on. And I do blame some of the previous regime and perhaps some of the officers have not been as sharp as they ought to be. But I should be making myself very clear. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. So we've heard KCC and the previous government and the current government definitely got the ball on this. Before we close the item off, I'd like to offer KCC Councillor Maxwell Harrison the right replies has been named to the meeting.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the communication yesterday with on the people speaking of the now they say there's only 15 children. We don't have school place. I don't believe that mathematics, so we'll go back to them. At present time, I'm waiting to report one report from Councillor Beverly Schwaller on some things that raised, particularly send us that share about council last time, the aid officer for parish as well as for the meeting, and also waiting for reports from our transport highways. I can't remember, and that's transportation for children who may or may not come to town. So there is stuff going on, there is a stalemate. We've had 2 meetings now with the schools and which want to have any space at all. They are in their large spaces. So there's currently stalemate. I understand the frustration. We are not doing what we can, not only at the council, but Kevin's office actually can work from there.
Okay, if you get us a written update as soon as possible on that.
Can that involve numbers as well? Because KCC are the only ones with actual numbers about how many children is affected.
We'd like to know what happens to the 60 spaces that seem to have disappeared.
Well, that's not my council tax money being spent on.
We're going to move on from this item. We're going to go to agenda item A.
So, Councillor Jones, can I just
very quickly,
quick mention because that's all mentioned the schools not adding extra places. Lee Academy has added a complete new class for it. Just to put that on the record.
No problem. Right, we move on. So, sorry, agenda item A, which is review of area committees. Earlier this year, council agreed that a review of area committees should take place. And we'd like to hear your thoughts on how effective you find the meetings. But to start off, Janet Dart, Policy Engagement Officer, give a short presentation about the background and purpose of area committees.
Right, so as Chair said, I'm the Policy and Engagement Officer and part of my role is to coordinate and run these area committees. And as we'll go on to speak about a bit later on, a review is being carried out and we'd like your feedback this evening. So to start with, I'm going to give a little bit of background on how they've been operating in the past and at the moment, as that might help with the discussions about how they should function going forward. So, following the 2019 local elections, one of the objectives of the administration was to diffuse power among members and improve public engagement in decision making. To achieve this, the administration put in place arrangements to set up area committees in Swale. Members agreed how they should be set up, and the first round took place in September 2020. There are 4 area committees which cover the whole of the borough of Swale. So that's Eastern, Sheppey, Sittingbourne and Western. So each year there are 4 rounds of meetings, which take place in February, June or July-ish, September and December. So in total, 16 meetings take place. Membership includes all ward members in the area, and the committee's boundaries are aligned with the wards it covers. Substitute members are not permitted on any area committees, and only those councillors who are members of Swale Borough Council are able to take decisions. Public attendance and participation in the area committees is an important feature of them. And the council have incorporated provisions in the constitution for there to be a session for members of the public and local organisations, including parish and town councils, to propose items for future meetings and also raise any relevant questions or comments for the committee. So initially, in the first year, meetings took place remotely as the COVID pandemic legislation was still in place, which did allow for formal meetings to take place virtually. Once the restrictions were lifted and relaxed, meetings started to take place face-to-face in village halls and community centres. However, many members of the public agreed, and councillors agreed, that people prefer to continue to have that option to attend remotely. So the remote conference call device was purchased, which is the OWL, and from then on, the meetings have been hybrid. This has been mostly effective, depending on reception, and allows for wider engagement with people across the borough, regardless of their accessibility needs, and gives them the choice to attend either in person or remotely. But as I said, it does restrict us to the venues we can use, as there needs to be good, reliable Wi-Fi. So the purpose of area committees is to enhance the quality of life of council services in the relevant area and to bring local insight to bear in council decision making. So the terms of reference were agreed by Cabinet in February 2020, and I will read through them because this is something that the working group might be looking at amending going forward. So to develop a work programme to enhance core services within the area and take a report to council on an annual basis to provide an update on progress. To agree spending decisions in relation to specific funding allocated to members of the area committee, provide area intelligence to the policy and resources committee and heads of service, and assist with policy development on relevant matters, and to make recommendations to full council, policy and resources committee, and any service committee on issues in the committee's area, and to respond to any specific matter referred to it by full council, a committee or senior council officer. So for the first 3 years, each area committee was allocated funding, which equated to each member receiving an identical amount. This was established at the annual council budget meeting each year and was to be allocated to projects in consultation agreement with the area committee as a whole. In line with the terms of reference, before each funding scheme was launched, the area committee set work programmes where priorities were agreed on how the funding should be allocated each year. The majority focused on schemes that improved the appearance, environment and facilities of the areas, along with contributing to Swale's strategic priorities. The criteria were agreed which applicants needed to meet before applications for funding could be considered. Usually at the September round of area committee meetings, after checks were carried out by officers, members could agree how funding would be allocated. So a total of £534,000 was allocated by the 4 area committees over the period September 2020 to May 2023 to a wide variety of projects overseen by both external organisations and internally led projects managed by Swale Borough Council. However, at the February 2023 full council meeting, Members agreed that one of the measures to address the budget gap was to stop providing funding for area committees. So now that area committees have moved away from providing funding for local projects, the other objectives in the terms of reference are now the main focus. An important function of area committees is to engage with the public, parish and town councils and community groups. This is very much a two-way process, and with the council providing information on things like any proposals to change council services and feedback in the early stages. This is often part of a public consultation. Council-led projects, seeking the views of residents during the development stage of the project and providing updates as the project develops. So, like tonight, we've had the Sheerness Revival Project update. There's been input right from the very start with the Levelling Up Fund when the bid was being developed, along to regularly updates, as you know. Inga's been coming along giving updates on progress of the project regularly. New policies and strategies when they're being developed or during the public consultation stage, residents are provided with information on the new policy or strategy, so their comments can be fed into its development. An example of this was like the customer access strategy, which we heard about earlier this evening. And also, if there's any change to government legislation which may affect residents, information can be provided at meetings. And there's the opportunity to ask questions. So those of you might remember the December round of meetings, I think it's December or February round, Larissa gave a presentation on devolution and what the local government review is likely to mean for Swale and wider Kent. So area committees aren't just about the council passing on information, they're also a mechanism for council to listen to residents. So I'm now going to pass it back to the chair just to talk about the review and to ask a few questions.
Okay, so following recommendation from Constitution Working Group, council has agreed that the review of area committee should be carried out. First, for this item, area committee this evening. We have a discussion about the effectiveness of area committees and look at how they can improve. The fact that everyone's sitting here and Sheppey is the best attended area committees out of the four, and the meetings are usually the longest because we've got so much stuff to discuss here. You know, whether it's heritage, environment, we've got school, we've got a packed agenda, we've got 16 items on this agenda, and most agenda black on. Shows how effective these are. Councillor Nundy, I know you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think area committees are really good. It's a 12-hour council meeting, so I know the ward councillors that are on the borough council should attend, but we've also got people here tonight that are parish and town councillors. We've also got people that aren't councillors at all, and I reckon there's about 20 people, 20 plus people here that are councillors. How many times do we get that at full council as well?
And one of the key things you said about was intelligence. So my two officers on the left here, they've been scribbling that book, they've all been scribbling notes, all the officers here. So that's where the intelligence has come. Whether it's about the mini goal or customer access strategy, the intelligence has been got here. Councillors.
Just to answer that one though, would you have come over to Swale House to discuss the toilets? Maybe not, but actually,
There's got to be a consultation.
Yeah. But I think, for example, on the environmental committee, where the consultation was put into process, there was not one member of it that was there, whereas actually, Blaisdell Parish have done a brilliant job, they've done a brilliant social media campaign to get people to come here and talk about it tonight, and that shows, because actually, nobody at Swale, obviously you guys turning around tonight, I think it speaks volumes, really.
And I completely disagree with the two speakers. I think the area committees are a talking shop. I think there's other ways of engaging with the public, with parish, with Swale, with councillors. It's a lot of money to actually run the area committees. You don't make decisions because it's not a decision-making forum.
We are a decision-making committee.
Right, well, I haven't seen any decision that was made,
Okay.
you know, from what we're chatting about. And I just think it's a waste of money, frankly. If Swale's looking to save money next year, which be on the waste of money.
And fun.
We're gonna talk about it. You
That
thought you,
Gender rights.
yeah, you told me you were gonna do it.
Okay. We'll do that right after this item then.
Yeah, I'll do it quick, right? You've got new toilets there and they're gonna be closed for whatever reason.
Where, sorry?
On place in the pub, that's all I can say.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes. Now, where do you think you're trying to teach your children that will bring down here from London, I would say, even the people that live here, to do these things? If they haven't got a place, you're going to say we under the bushes or poo under the bushes. I can control mine, but children can't. Now, you're already setting them up that they can do it anywhere. Now, that's not good with your community because it's going to go even against our principles, grandmothers and mothers and fathers. So there's whatever you print, and they're going to be lovely toilets from whatever they've got, but they want to shut them. It's the how many people come down here on holiday? The only place they can go down to where you can get the bath. You'll find them pooing on the beach instead. And this has got to be resolved because it's a good income that comes into Lakedown, and I love Lakedown. I've been coming here for whatever. I'm 85 for 60 years, and I would go nowhere else. But I see the dilemma that you could be causing even diseases. I know I'm going far-fetched here, but for God's sake, keep them open. And we can teach my grandchildren or where you go to the toilet for the future.
So the consultation is going to come out. Does mention about clothing. It's a consultation. The parish council have indicated they're willing to take on both those toilet blocks in Lakedown. If they take them on, it will not close. And obviously it depends on the outcome of the consultation, what closes, what doesn't, and what other people want to take on. So.
Well, can you please tell to some of the people that are in the caravan park that it's going to be readjusted and stick that bit of paper up? Do not worry that you can use your toilets in Lakedown. I
think we should have a consultation laminated on the outside.
Yeah. So you come off better and I come off better because I can use your toilets and I'm glad.
I don't want to see our contractors cleaning up human muck. They have to do it. Not as it is now. Yeah. So
you know it's not.
Lady next year.
Hi, I'm the chair of Lakedown Parish Council. Can I just clarify? We haven't said we'll take them on. We've said we would be open to finding out the information, obviously costings, would we have financial help, whether it would fit into our budget, etc. So just it's not a case of if we don't take it on is because we just said no. We have said we'd like more information so that we can make a considered opinion.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Fine.
Are we still on the area committee?
Well, we're starting straight off and we'll get back to them. If you want to bring us back on topic, I will welcome that.
Yeah, it's just that the area committees, when they resurrected, as I said, in 2020, they did, because they were local issues, they did give money to quite a few local organisations because the people here understand what's going on with it. And this is why that was. I can't understand why they're not supporting them anymore with any sort of funding, because it's money getting to the root of some of the problems. But they are, if get more people to come and with their views. I mean, tonight we've heard lots of borough councillors speaking. Totally agree with coming up about schools, and what concerned me was when somebody said it's only 15 children.
Great.
And I think that is an absolute terrible statement. And isn't, to me, even if it was 5 kids, they still should not have to go off this island to school unless they want to.
Yeah.
And yes, again, it's publicity around the petition. People don't know about it. I'm not very good technically, but I try.
And I will try and find out if someone points me in the direction, and I'm sure all the parish councillors up here would say, look, get on board and down this particular. But to me, the area cities have in the past talked about a lot of things that, and bear in mind, I was thinking long term, because I've been doing this for a long while. There's a lot of good coming out of the area committees and the talking shop, because when have we ever seen all the borough councils? Well, you don't see all of them, but when do we ever see it? Most people up here don't even know the faces of the island councils unless they know where them. And that's why, to me, where this used to be, when they sat round the table and they would go around and introduce themselves, which doesn't happen now. So, it needs to be more inclusive. Mm. But yeah, if you want me to go on about toilets, I will. And I'm doing this as not as a parish councillor, as a resident, who's been up here many, many years. But the toilets down the bottom, and I'd like all councillors, borough councillors, to bear this in mind if they have any decision on this. The ones down the front are only open part of the year, and sometimes it's only at the beginning of the season weekends. There's an awful lot of people up here, and what I know, a lot of councillors off of the island don't realise, and I'm sorry, it's your job as island councillors to make them know, is this is the biggest tourist area in Swale, this end of the island, and we get nothing up here. And that does annoy me. I know Leanne is, I won't be rude, but I will say it's probably as I used to be. And she does stick up for this. But one voice is not good enough. Mm. All the island councillors need to realise that the income from this end of the island supports a lot of what goes on in their areas as well. And we need recognition for that. And we sometimes need, we had the rose tinted thing once. It was so badly managed. Half of the things never got done. All we got was some roses on the green. But we do need a lot more input from councillors to make sure things up here are getting done. And don't close jobs.
Councillor Moore.
I think I'm just trying to.
I'm just doing it.
Will it then to the island quite a bit, I think,
as your motion says.
as my motion says. Yeah.
Lady Blind.
And can I comment as well on the Northwest situation? Literally, every week, people are outside the football changing rooms of the Lakedown Lions. Now, toilet at Neptune damaged the car accidents, the cesspits, which have gone a tendency from Swale, in years of infrastructure out of date, has water leakage, try and open the toilets within a day, they're back running. So it's not just about public toilet and the one you're thinking of putting in. It's literally, as a member of staff down there, I get abused every day because people think there should be a toilet that's in. And let's not even get started about the motorhomes and the charging and the impact that that's going to have.
Yes.
So why should people like me that human? It's not really fair.
Okay, gentlemen.
Talking about human that.
One more swear when we find a record, swearing at the
Really good about the whole, the Warden Hall, which is pure animal dirt and human dirt because the kids have nowhere to go to toilets. The drains are all blocked. I've emailed your chief executive. I've been chasing this for 2 years and nothing has been done. It's a disgrace.
What did you ask the chief executive about toilets?
I asked them about clearing the drains and clearing, we've had people coming in, they've left one of the bins, left the other bins. two people at a time come and do that, and they don't let the other bin. And the rubbish ground out there, and the dirt in the drains is a disgrace. I can forward you the email.
It's to do, I think, with the drainage.
The drainage.
Along between like the neutral that leads down.
Yeah, it belongs to Swale, it goes right up to Mustard Farm.
Yeah.
It doesn't all belong to Swale, but the places it's blocked belongs to Swale.
Yes, it goes along the bit, along the village hall.
And you will be playing to it.
Councillor Moore, if you could liaise with Martin after me about that one, we can see if we can do.
I'll pick that up, so you get a response.
Mike, actually next.
Yeah, it's gonna go back to what that standard. So I think probably the only ones that remember the old committees, which remembers of them, I've shared it with us, calculating it. People that knew who the councils were, who the public was. I'm certain that the public come along, found out actually who our councillors were not. And there was councillors sitting around with no. And a lot of over microphones as well.
Sure.
People could speak from the floor and be heard. I haven't heard half the people that said,
Okay.
not their fault.
No, it's accessibility, yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to agree, I'm hard of hearing, I wear hearing aids, hence I'm sat at the front so I can lip read. One of my recommendations would be, and please don't take this personally, is that I believe that all Swale Borough councillors should go on a course of how to speak in public. How to speak clearly, how to speak at a speed that can be understood. So unfortunately, sometimes, especially when you're reading from a sheet of paper, your volume is going down, and the only way I'm understanding is because I'm here looking at your face. So inclusivity for those of us with hearing loss is an important factor, and that's just a very simple thing that you can do of a course, just to be mindful. It's very echoey in here. So that's,
I think it's part of the law.
Isn't there a way you could get a looping device that you could put at the front, that if someone had you, they say,
I know we have really.
Place like this,
it wouldn't make a
it wouldn't make any difference at all. It's just people speaking clearly and speaking, clearly, eloquently, as eloquently as you can. Not talking down to your laptop, not talking down to a piece of paper, but just being aware to project.
Sure.
There are courses, and having my line of work previously, you have to be able to address people when you're hosting committees, as well Borough councillors, I believe, should have to be able to do that.
Sure.
So that would be something going forward with the area committees to all of these stakeholders.
Bill?
Yeah, just following on what Louise has said, can we also ask people if they're going to put slides up for people to read, can they put less on each slide and make it slightly bigger? Because I'm sure that the people at the back there couldn't read some of the slides that were being put up. And they lose their effect. So, that's not quite so bad, I can read that, but if that's a bit bigger, people at the back would have to struggle.
That Zoom presentation wasn't fit for purpose, in my opinion. There are people here who are struggling to hear, people also struggling to see. And it was a very, very poor presentation that was done earlier, in my opinion. Sorry.
I still hear it, I don't think it's that part of the time, but.
Okay, I think we've got, I hope don't have pages, we've had lots of feedback, which is what this committee are about, feedback, intelligence.
Become friends.
Exactly. Councillor Wise.
I think also, can we set up a mechanism that would allow the parish councils, voluntary groups and members of the public to get things on the agenda?
They can, so every time this goes out into the parish council.
Do that.
Yeah, I'd like to put something in the question.
And it's really important that people understand that they can do it.
Yeah.
And they know where to go to do it. Going back to our communication point earlier.
So I send, I think it's at least 2 emails before each meeting to all of the town parish councils. And if there's community groups that come along with me as well, then distribution list, and I give deadlines for getting things on the agenda, for asking public questions. And details of to contact myself via the area committee's email address. So that does get out there, and on the social media posts as well. There's the email address on there for people who contact us if they've got any queries. But yes, I do take that on board. We'll try and do that now.
For me, it's just an extra layer. That's for me, it's just an extra layer, an extra sourcing shop. I don't think the decision's made, but I'm sure you can prove me wrong. But I think if we toughen up the parish councils and borough councillors come to the parish councils, KCC as well as come to the parish, you can get your points across directly there rather than go through another conduit, which is the area committee.
You don't forget borough council and come to parish council meeting. I've been on the parish council a year, and I think it's one meeting that can actually predict parish council there. So we could get that sorted, that would be good.
I get what you're saying about the layer, but this is the first area meeting that I've attended. And I'm finding this extremely helpful. And I also understand that we expect borough councillors and KCC to be able to attend all the parish meetings. You know, that would be a high expectation, whereas here, we can all be together and get on for
You don't have to attend, you just have.
We get reports from
Yes,
KCC.
that's right, it's not the conduit. So for me, this is an extra barrier. It's an extra. But look, I mean, that's just me.
Yeah.
You have to take it.
No, I'm finding it helpful to, and it's also the face-to-face is helpful.
Okay, councillor Moore?
Yeah, just, Linda, sorry, like I said, I can't get to your meeting, I work Thursdays, I just can't get there. But if you email me to remind me when your meetings are, like a week before or something, I can send you a report in, because I send a report in to me.
When you publish stuff, you've been asked to do that.
So, if I get the next round of file, it's the writing, so that way then I can tell you what's been going on.
Councillor Wilson, you spoke with 30 seconds last time to end the item.
I think we've had some serious points raised in
We have.
this evening. If those points were raised about disability and access to disability and access to these meetings to our meeting at the chamber, then we would be looking at some action on the basis of those comments. So I'd like some reassurance around that as an area committee, we'll take those comments and we will absolutely listen and we do something about that in terms, I don't know what, I'm not an expert, but I would like that to be brought back and looked at again and say that the people that raise those issues in this meeting can actually have some feedback about what the result of that could be. It may be that, for instance, the venue, that, you know, it may be that the building isn't what we'd like, the ideal situation to be or whatever. But, for example, Councillor Lundy, when somebody said, I can't hear it, he went, I'll move, let's move that. It could be something as simple as observing the first row and saying, councillors don't sit in the first row. We have the first row for people that need to have better access to the resources that are being used at the meeting. But if we could think about that and clear, because it's your workplace, absolutely, but we really want people to feel included. And I think that's a brilliant point that's been brought up to. I'd really like that to be a bit of a focus.
So it has all been noted, that we're going to feed that back, and so we want it to be accessible, we want people to come and join in. Councillor Reid, you can finish your side.
27.
Excellent.
I quite agree with the lovely lady in the front who spoke so clearly and eloquently. And the fact that we can all meet parish councillors, town councillors, borough councillors really is important, I think. And we can bring things up at this meeting, not like in our town council meetings where we have to do it about a year in advance before we're allowed to put things on the agenda, and then half the time they get taken off the agenda. My point.
Thank you for closing the item off on that one. I'm going to move the public session up the agenda, although we seem to have covered toilets quite a lot. Is there any more on the public forum? Over there, without swearing back this time, please.
I just wondered, if Green Spaces team, why dog food bins have been removed from the country park and Lansdowne. Because it's just not going to settle, and there's never any action, there's never wardens catch the same offenders to do it every single day. I could point out where you can continue, but now literally the dog food bins are gone.
So a lot of time when dog food is removed, it was because we were in a meeting with them, was a normal bin that can take dog waste to the normal waste. But I said, the service people plan anything like that, is that for us to do with that?
Yeah, I would love to understand if they're ones that you're saying have been completely removed, because what, as councillor Jay says, the idea was, so we have to pay for a dog bin to be emptied and a litter bin to be emptied. If they're very close to each other, then we're paying twice for no reason. So the idea was, the new style bins, say litter and dog waste can go in there, so that goes together. So there shouldn't be a case where we've removed something completely and either there's not something in the same location, or where our contractor might be a little bit ahead of the game and there's one due to come in. So if you want to catch me afterwards and tell me the locations, I can take that back to the team to do that. So it's definitely not the intention just to remove bins. It's where there's duplicates, that's where we're trying to reduce the cost for the council and taxpayers on that. So happy to hear the locations.
Lady Nigel?
The gentleman that does the football pitch, it's been there quite a long time. He fought hard for the red poo bag thing with the dog was going, the red bin. You completely took that away. People are abusing that pitch. He has to pick up the dog mess off that pitch. And as well as dealing with the adult kids, everything else, quite hard thing. He basically wants to give up on it only for us, and he's come to me quite a few times. And he has that binge which been taken away with no reason why. Because your bins, what you're putting at the moment, of the litter only, it hasn't got the sticker on saying half litter, half the blue bags to go in it. Where some bins have, you took quite a lot of bins away, some around the Bay State, some around Bayview, and people take the money about them. Because they do get used. I get that obviously it's a cost thing to get them empty, but they do get used. They do get used a lot.
So happy to look at that location, but just to be clear, so that everybody in the room can go and tell everybody else that talks to them about it, dog waste can go in any litter bin. Whether it's got a sign on it or not, it can go in that litter bin. So if there is a litter bin in that location, please start to spread the message that that can be used. Obviously, we've got over 1,500 bins across the borough. We can't replace them all at once. So we are on a programme of getting rid of, so you'll picture the horrible round open top ones. We're trying to get rid of those because of obviously seagulls and birds and things like that. Replace them with the aperture bins. So we are working on a programme of replacements of those old style bins. But just to be clear, dog waste can go in any litter bin.
Perhaps we should take an action to any bins that haven't got in arms, but by waste streams in it. Speak up.
I just a different subject, and it's advice and whatever. When the new charge comes in for the organised stays down Lansdowne, which we've been wanting something to be done about that for years now, I can see the danger, and I'm sure Martin knows more than anyone, that the lay-by nearly opposite Party Ferry Road is an absolute dumping main. It must cost a fortune to keep clearing that, and I would dread to stop and have a look what's in the ditch behind it. You cannot get that closed off permanently. It doesn't serve any purpose, and with people going down there, they are going to move up there, and they're going to park overnight up there. There's no restrictions on it. Nobody goes in there to have a rest or anything like that. Why can't we get highways, or is it highways? It's part of the old one. Why can't we get that closed off? It's saving dumping, and it would save migration from down there up there come September.
I would direct you to a KCC member if they've left on the last item.
Just very quickly on that, please, Chair. Really valid point. We made it clear in the report that went to committee that clearly when we do start to charge, there'll be displacement to other areas. We try to second guess as many of those areas as possible. That's a new one on me, Pat, but sorry, councillor Sander. But the point is exactly that. My team have spent a lot of money in clearing that lay-by recently. A lot of council money, taxpayer money. We absolutely would support restriction on that area. We've actually made that request to KCC, and we're waiting on an outcome for that. Clearly, that may not happen, won't happen in time for the restrictions. When
Next JTB agenda.
Yeah, if anyone wishes to raise it with that.
Through your clerk, you can raise it to the JTB. We're on my list, the net. Let's go online. We have Emily O'Neill online.
Hello, hi.
Hello.
Yes, so I'm going to bring it back to toilets. And I've got a question relating to the Public Convenience Profiles report that went to the Environmental Services and Climate Change Committee a couple of weeks ago as well. So I just wanted to ask, could it be confirmed how the number of users per day for the Spinney toilets was calculated? So the Spinney toilets in Laysdown, it's showing as an average of 13 users per day, 13, but that seems likely to be much higher during the summer months. And I just wondered if anyone could confirm if the average, if that 13 users per day, if that was taken during the winter months, because if so, that's going to severely alter the figures. So I just wondered if anyone had any input on how those calculations were achieved.
Yeah, so my team looks after public toilets as well. So they were taken through between May and September. So clearly it did involve the summer, but some non-summer months as well. So we do believe it takes into account peaks and troughs in that. In the main, we used PIR sensors. So for those that were visiting, it would make a count when you enter. So that's how we did that. Obviously, we look at water usage and we look at where we've got a contractor that's in and around the facilities. We also take anecdotal evidence from them as well. So it did include the summer months. What I would do is take the opportunity is, whilst the Spinney is in the list of potential closures that we're out for public consultation at the moment, just to make it clear, if we were to close eight toilets in Laysdown, we would look to extend the opening of the remaining. So in answer to Councillor Sanders' response, if we close the Spinney, we would make the beach services available year round.
Have you ever tried to drop to the bottom if they're on the band's head?
As somebody with kids, I've made many dashes from facilities and playgrounds to do that. You've got two toilets in very close proximity to each other, which is quite unusual for the borough. There are areas with no toilets, and here we are with two. So looking at the data, we feel there's enough capacity in one of those to deal with the demand, rather than requiring the two to remain open.
I'm not supporting the closure of any, I just want to make that clear. I don't want to be like the person that gets attacked by everybody, but I would like to point out that we are closed that toilet. Well, I use the roads and I get what they don't know you. So let's talk about
Then you
it's not, nobody will stop you when you come out of the toilet, like, have you put money in an arcade,
So within the committee report, we talk about community toilets as well, being able to take some of the slack where there are distinct closures. So it's all things that we're looking at. But these are the things.
Well, because I know the other night I tried to use it 8 o'clock in the evening and it was shut. I actually went in the arcade.
So we are, I mean, that's clearly why we're up to public consultation. I should say, Andre, who was on talking about the customer access strategy, has been supporting me on this project. And the intention was to have a full item on this in the September area committee views. So, it will be great to hear as you've all come and you've all had to listen to the councillors. I want you to say your bits tonight, but this won't be the last opportunity as well. So we need as much feedback on those as possible.
And we're
It's not just
September.
It's not just targeting lays down, there are closures suggested in the other areas as well. Hopefully you'll see from the committee reports, which we can include in the minutes of this, a good deal of investigation has gone into this. And the next stage is the public consultation, and then we'll be going back to committee in November to ask the councillors to take the final decision.
So,
On the point of caravans and caravanettes, up on the Morton car park, I've spoken to various people and apparently on Swale and Kent County Council, it's down as a free parking, overnight parking. Now, what they're doing there is they're camping up there and the rocks over the side, protecting their cans and their rubbish. If you're going to charge for Laysdown, you need to charge up there as well, and you need somebody to police it.
there will be for the late night. Mike Brown, actually been waiting a while.
We have a toilet in East Church.
Yeah.
It's sat behind the National Monument, which attracts huge number of visitors. The only trouble is it's been closed for 8 years. And it's no sign of opening. I read at the weekend, Swell were looking at the whole policy of toilets, and they suggest that the toilet in East Church be demolished. That came from Swell Council. The toilet in East Church and Laysdown will be better off to be demolished. There's any truth in that?
So I will come to you and say, the East Church toilet, if the parish council wants to take it on, then it won't be demolished, but is that?
Yeah, so it's where facilities, there are two facilities that are mentioned in the report, Rushenden and East Church. They're facilities that haven't been open for a long time. We've got buildings sitting there not being utilised. So demolition is one opportunity, one option. Reuse that for other things. So if somebody wanted to take over a building and operate, I've seen toilets in Canterbury used as nightclubs and various other things. So what we do when we look at any building is we assess, do we need it for council use? And if the answer is no, we've got the options to either transfer to others, of which parish councils can be one, but it could be a community organisation, it could be a business. So it's one option is demolition, but it's not the only option if people are interested in utilising those buildings. What we're saying is we don't believe that the provision of a toilet is required at that location, and therefore from a public toilet service point of view, it's not needed, but that doesn't mean the building's not needed, or if somebody wants to look at alternative options on it.
There's no proposals in that report to open any closed toilet blocks.
This could be brought to the parishes and the organisation, presumably anyway. So we could end up London.
I think that's one of item 11, local government organisation. Loads of people here. Yes.
I just wondered if there was ever been any research carried out as well on the number of visitors that use the Laysdown Visual Park compared to the number of visitors that use Barshens. Because they've got brand new smashing showers down there with toilets, and we have nothing of a comparative number or style, if that makes sense. And I personally think there's no clarity of signage on Chelmsford Road right now on when those charges are kicking in, and when it's going to start, and and how it's going to be managed, and how it's going to be done. And I just think the coastal park is going to be even if it's not actually directly an issue. Because you're saying the waste over at Meeting, they've been doing it for years down at Meeting. And sadly, it's just a few who won't get programs.
Councillor Whiting.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I wasn't going to speak on toilets, but we were in halfway here. I present. We used to have toilets in the cemetery, and the council closed those. I'm pleased in the consultation. I mean, we're lucky tonight. We've got the chairman of the Environment Committee. It's her committee that's suggesting these closures and put it out there for us to comment on. Let's do that and use the opportunity. She's here tonight. Talk to her. Because it would be nice, and I'm pleased in the press release, it said that, we would listen to your responses. Well, nobody listened to the responses about halfway. And it got closed to save £4,000 a year. Now they're trying to save £400,000 a year. I don't think, we're going to have to put some very good case forward to get the council on that committee to say, actually, no, we'll carry on as we are, or we'll find other ways of doing it. So I urge people to get involved in the consultation. I'm word of warning from halfway's experience, it didn't do any good and they closed it. They closed it anyway. And the second point I wanted to make, it had been mentioned, was the parking in Sheerness Road and the shingle bank down in Sheerness. I just wondered if we got an update on when the charging is going to come in, because it was originally planned for, I was told it was the 1st of August. Are we still happening for the 1st of August?
Yeah, so that's the intention. The traffic orders have all been signed off and sealed on that. All of the signage is on order. We clearly don't want to put it up too early, because on the basis it might end up in the sea, which is where I expect it to be on a regular basis. So I'm going to not keep replacing it so regularly up until the implementation date. But yeah, the intention is to start the charges from the 1st of August. Clearly not everything will be done, but a lot of the infrastructure is being finalised now, ready for installation from next week.
Just on the, let's be hypothetical. So hypothetically speaking, the spinny toilets is closed because the argument is that we have access to perfectly good toilets just down the road. With devolution on the horizon, do you have any idea of the likelihood of whether we would then lose them? Because being where we're at, a public toilet it's not a luxury here, it's a necessity. We don't have big businesses. Yes, the arcades have toilets, but I'm sure if there was a sudden influx of everybody started using them, the arcades would implement, because there's going to be associated antisocial behaviour and abuse that occurs, unfortunately, by a minority. So for Laysdown, we need a public toilet. So as Swale Borough councillors, do you have any kind of thoughts on what might happen with devolution? That if we lost one, is it likely that the other one would follow behind?
I've lost my chair, so I'm going to ask the vice chair again. Thank you. I wish I had a local government reorganisation crystal ball, is the answer to that. I can't make any assurances for Swale Borough Council for next year, let alone for local government reorganisation in terms of unitaries. So I absolutely can't say they won't be in future. What I can say is, at the moment, what we're putting forward, and hopefully it came across in my report to the committee, for those of you that can access it, is we absolutely understand that the disabilities for lots of other protected characteristics, pregnant ladies, the elderly, etc., the public toilets are a fundamental service that we provide. And that's why the report is not saying, clearly the best saving for the council would be to say they're not statutory services. The government says we don't have to provide them, so we'll close all 16 and we'll save nigh on £1 million a year. That's not what the report said. The report is saying we haven't reviewed our toilet provision for a long time. So here's a lot of data, councillors, for you to consider. Let's see what the public think, which is the phase that we're in now. and then we'll come back with a final decision. So, what I want to understood is that we recognise all of those things. We want to hear it from all of you guys, organisations. So we're contacting Age UK and lots of the disability organisations so that we really hear the voice from a wide spectrum of people. And then we will put a report in front of the Environment Committee that says the public consultation revealed this. These are your options. Do nothing, close them all, do something in the middle. And at the moment, the proposal is do something in the middle, which is look at where we potentially have an over provision, solve that, work with other organisations if they wish to keep the existing provision. But again, I recognise all we've done so far is ask towns and parishes what's in principle. Now the phase starts, so that the committee agreed for us to start the negotiations with people like yourselves. So we will be in contact shortly with a lot of information. You guys will clearly have your own decision-making processes and come back to us. And some of those will be yeses, some of those will be nos, and we'll put that all in front of the councillors at the committee and say, here are your options. So it's a really open process.
Thank you for that.
Nikki, you're waiting very patiently online.
Hiya.
Hello.
It really is just a bit of feedback. We were talking about communication with the public earlier on. Now, I'm just want to say that, yes, I understand that the councillors are not they're not required to be online on social media or anything like that. But what I have noticed is that there is a few councillors who are on there, and when they're speaking to the residents, it's more a case of, how can I put it? It doesn't come across very professional and it's quite rude. Do you not think that that might actually deter your residents from actually approaching you councillors to then bring up different issues? But also, I think I spoke to you a couple of months ago, Councillor Jays, on regards a pilot scheme on an open surgery for the public with no formal formalities. Did you ever go any further with that idea at all?
The parish council has held, every time the police are in, there's normally a parish council attendance. So again, anyone can rock up, speak to their parish councillor, or they can email and ask for an appointment. We've had that happen quite a lot.
Right, so that would be what I will then say to the residents when they're approaching me then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
Yes, the subject of the overnight parking, I noticed it said the Shingle Bank place has got to be cleared by the 27th of July for maintenance. I assume that maintenance will be putting in water, flushing out points, maybe a toilet, for the extortionate price of £15 a night, which is much any other place in Kent that I know of. My daughter was camping in Hastings the other night, overnight, free, toilet, open in the morning, St Hilda's Bay, down by Margate. There's toilets, there's cafes, there's water, there's showers. I think that's £11 a night. So I assume, I hope that maintenance will be the water and the rubbish points and flushing out, so that people don't have to chuck it over the wall.
So to confirm it doesn't, maintenance is, making sure that the shingle has been gently resurfaced so that it's a bit flatter. It's putting up the signage, it's removing old posts and things like that. It does not include any camping facilities, so water, grey water, flushing, as you say.
On the question, so in terms of this £15, I've got my camping room, but it's on my doorstep.
is this sort of mechanism to move H Squires caravans along? Because a lot of money was spent in terms of resurfacing the car. Oppositely in front of the. So we just moving Haven. Is that what it's about?
No, this is a long-term issue, and I found a press plan the other day, this has been going on since sort of 2017. Council have been badgered for years and years and years. They want to see people want to see action, and we've heard who wants to see action in lays down here. On the price of the scheme, I saw that on the full council report next week, we need at least 5 people to pay that every night to cover the cost of the scheme, so the enforcement, the signage, action. So no, it's not just to move them along.
Okay, thank you. So going on from that, in terms of the mechanism that is there, am I right in saying there's no overnight stay? There's already a bylaw in place, there's no overnight stay.
So, no, so we changed that, so the traffic order permits an overnight stay, on the shingle bank and along the side road of Shellness.
So there was a change, or
there has been a change.
I've got 3 more people, Councillor Moore.
Just going back to the consultation on the toilets. Obviously not all the board members are part of every committee. So is there going to be a chance for, say, the affected board members at the committee making the final decision to have to speak up for their board? Are they going to be invited to the committee if they're not on the committee already to speak and raise a final point in person to the councillors on that committee?
So all visiting members are welcome to attend any meeting, and I haven't seen a visiting member not be allowed to speak at any committee.
On this item at the environment agenda, case in point is Councillor Tony Winters intended to speak about Milton toilets. There's a big applications.
And Councillor Whiting spoke on the absolute.
I think that's it. You don't obviously always pick up the agendas for committees you're not on. So if we're informed that obviously there is something now on that agenda, I become very helpful. Because obviously with all the other committees you're on and everything, you don't, I mean, although we want to go through all the agendas, sometimes it's just not physically possible to sit and go through every agenda to check what's on. So I think as you know, as officers know what boards are coming up on what committees, just an email saying just briefly, they do with the planning stuff, they say, you know, we've got a planning application, but it would help for the other committees as well, that you're not, like the people are not on.
So I'll take that off the officers and say that that's for each group spokesperson. So each group's got a spokesperson in every committee, and they know what's coming up on the agenda. So it's just liaise with them. I don't know who's the environment. The last I've got is the council back.
The other issue I don't know, perhaps it can be noted, is I literally walk down that wall every, well, let's say that's 7, and you've got the disabled parking bays with overnight campers in. And so therefore, at Davis's, don't benefit from having safe parking bays. So I don't know if anything can be added to the enforcement side of things, but my understanding is you have not entitled you to say overnight a week.
I understand that one.
So that's
Yeah, correct. So what we did back in 2019 was to formalise that area and mark out the bays and reduce, put bollards in where it was too narrow and they were creeping onto the road. That was done with no traffic order behind it, so it was basically a discretionary bay. So for all intents and purposes, it was requesting people to be a bit more considerate of each other and park properly. Clearly, that's not been the case. The traffic order now gives the enforcement officers the ability to go in. So if somebody's parked in that disabled bay without the correct identification, then they'll be able to be given a penalty charge notice.
So will nothing be done about the current events down there until the 1st of August, presumably?
My enforcement team have already started or are starting the engagement process with those that are staying there long term. There's lots of different legislation that we're looking at using. Some is obviously parking related legislation, as I've just described. Others is for the long term occupants. So without going into that detail, but this process is starting now to engage with those individuals impacted and make sure that we're providing support as well, because there may well be welfare issues, etc. So that process of support and welfare checks are in place before the charges come in. Will we have resolved all of it by the 1st of August? It's pretty unlikely, but certainly those mechanisms are starting.
Lady Hunter?
Yes, there's a gentleman that he has a camera phone, but he has got a chalet, it's through like the season. He stays on that wall for 2 months, but he does go backwards to site smoker. He has a blue badge, but he's more concerned. He can't afford to pay the charge that you're charging. Is that going to be through the winter as well, the charge constantly? Or is that just going to be just summer season, or is it just?
No, the traffic order is all year round, so it will apply to those months, those 2 months.
You know, he puts a signage up, so I had a lot of people come back and say, well, he's got a caravan there, I've got a camper van there, but I can't, you know, you've got nothing up there to say to them, like, no caravans can park on the wall. There is car parking, but they take up a lot of space. I do get like, it's a summer season, they come down, it has been nice the weather, I get that, but there's also car park spaces that are being abused where they can't, people come down and they can't park there today.
Yeah, in the original committee, that was something that came across to all of the councillors, from all of the councillors, which is they didn't want anything coming in that would impact that daytime usage. Yeah. And we heard a lot in the committee, didn't we, that that was what was happening, where people were staying for 4 weeks, you know, a week, 4 months at a time, that it was impacting those daytime usage. That's why the charge is at 8 till 8. Members debated the time, and they had lots of different options that it could have been. And what that committee said is, after a year of operation, we want it to come back so we can review it as well, because it might be that it's 10 p.m. is better than 8 p.m. etc. So again, the beauty is once we implement it, we can look at it and review it and see how it operates.
Right, we have done that item to death. We move on to agenda item 9, which is the Blue Flag and Seaside Award update. That's over to you, Martin.
Thank you for moving the agenda, because I think it was important that those that were here to talk about that feel free not to listen to me any longer. But I've got the next 2 items. One of the councillors on this area committee asked me to come and give an update on the Blue Flag and Seaside Awards for this year, and mainly based around the efforts of the team that we have at the council to recognise what they do on behalf of local residents. So you may see them out and about on the beaches. They're a small team, seafront team. Every year we're proud to see the hard work that they do in order to get the Keep Britain Tidy awards that we get. This year is no different. You will see the blue flag flying at Sheerness Beach, and you'll see the seaside flags flying at Minster and Laysdown. The flags are awarded on a set of strict criteria, including water quality, levels of cleanliness, i.e. litter, provision of services such as toilets and lifeguards and other things we've discussed tonight, with the aim to make sure that the beaches are clean and safe. Ian and the team of cleaners work tirelessly throughout the year. It's not just the summer season. Clearly, they get a lot busier during the summer season, as we've heard, with the many tourists throughout. But the winter weeks bring lots of new perils as well that the team deal with. So they are constantly pulling things off the beaches. They're making sure that they're ready for residents and visitors. So much is done behind the scenes. So whether that's risk assessing all of the issues that come up on the beach, cleaning them, inspecting them, repairing things along the seafront. So they do it all. The team are really dedicated to their work. We've been super lucky that team has had people that have stayed with us for many years. and they've been truly dedicated to the work. Some of those have taken a well-earned rest in retirement this year, but what's been really nice is the new officers, new cleaners that have come in, continue that same philosophy that the team have had over the years. So I've said to them that I very much look forward to joining them for a day over the summer holidays. I've told them to pick the busiest day of the year and to put me to work so I get to see what you guys see. I think, you know, the request was, can we celebrate that team and their hard work in achieving those awards? And so hopefully that gives you a bit more insight into what the teams do. So I don't know if any of the councillors that wanted it raised want to speak on the matter. A very short intro from them.
No, move on. Item number 10.
Chair, I would just say that actually, it would be really nice because obviously usually Sheppey has a flag raising ceremony. I'd like to see that still happen this year. I think that's very important to recognise that work. And also part of it should be to recognise the volunteer groups, and we've got lots of them that go out on a regular basis and help keep Sheppey clean. Women's groups, we've got organisations, we have schools that join in, all of those sort of Cubs groups, all those sort of things really help towards that. And I think we need to see the council doing a better job at recognising that effort on a more regular basis, because obviously it's great, especially involving children, to make sure they're taking responsibility for their own area and giving that bit of pride back to their area. So yes, to the beach team, but also absolutely to the volunteers that support all that into their own as well.
No, having put some money for my members' grant into bring the buffet back afterwards. That's a good networking event and really appreciate my volunteers and staff. Item 10 then, Barton's point after. Over to you, Martin.
So I didn't realise that I was delivering this one, so I won't give too much more than what is in the report in the paper in your agendas. For those of you not aware, Barton's Point Coastal Park, we went out a long time ago, up to nearly just over 3 years ago, with a view of trying to see what the art of the possible at Barton's Point. We know that it's a really well-loved part of the island. We wanted to make sure that whatever decisions we make for the future mean that it stays how residents wanted it. We did an expression of interest, and we got some really exciting responses come through that expression of interest. People not only wanting to operate a cafe that's there, but do lots of other things within the park as well. We went through the expression of interest process and we selected a winning operator, and we started work with them on their exciting plans, which was based around an activity course on the lake, accommodation pods, building on the camping offer that was there previously. As the plans were pretty enthusiastic, clearly planning permission was a consideration around that, and we got quite an early indication that we needed to undertake some ecological surveys. So they have to take place over a year-long period, and they've just been completed, and we've received the report from those ecological surveys. And with it is a bit of a bittersweet moment, because what the report says is that Barton's Point is an absolutely unique environment. It has saltwater and freshwater mixing. It has incredible habitats, invertebrates, etc., that are present on the site. The ecology, the wildlife is fantastic. But with that, so that's a really good thing for the island. But with that, it puts paid to putting activities in there that encourage lots more people to visit because of the impact on that wildlife and ecology. So what this report says is, we've just got that report. We wanted it was fairly well timed for here, so we wanted to bring something as early as we could to this committee as an update to say we haven't forgotten Barton's Point, but clearly we need councillors, we need to take reports to councillors to say you might need to change tact in what we offer at Barton's Point. So we've extended the cafe operation for this year. to buy us the time to take those reports to the councillors. And obviously, as and when we do, we'll come back to this committee to discuss, what the findings have been. So just wanted to give you a very early update. Happy to take any questions.
So it has been a bit of a story style. I know it says that the preferred bidder is reconsidering its position. Do we know yet whether they're in or out?
So it's not going to be deliverable. The offer is not going to be deliverable. It's very clear from the advice. We have spoken to the company. They are looking at alternative locations as a result. So very much it will be taken back to Plan B with the councillors when we go to the relevant committee.
Okay, it mentions the relevant service committee going to be options for the long-term future of the site. It's not really in the forward plans. I think it's quite cross-cutting, so it's either be P&R or they could come back and do delegation to this local committee. Councillor Reid.
So does that mean that the previous camping that used to happen there, and even maybe longer ago, the previous boating activities, did that unduly affect the ecology as well, or is this?
Clearly, I can't talk about the past. I can only talk about what they found over the course of this report. We don't know how the ecology has changed over time because we don't have those detailed studies from back in the day. We will all have an opinion on what impact those activities have or don't have on it. Unfortunately, when we have a report in front of us, we have to consider what it's saying. Clearly, that's what we're going to ask members to take some decisions on.
But as most activities on there were human powered rather than mechanically powered, so such as pedals or rowing boats, that wouldn't have had much impact as perhaps having people throw themselves around all the sides, as it says here. Councillman Nerd.
Chair, first of all, I'd like to commend the officers for trying to get something really good for Sheppey. So I'm not going to knock you for that. However, this has been an appalling 3 years just wasted, in my opinion. And I'm speaking as a person, resident, as opposed to Minster Parish Council. Most islanders know that Barton's Point has a wonderful wildlife. There's swans, there's newts, I don't know what's there, but I just know that it's full of wildlife. And it's also next door to a national monument. So most people, I would argue, would have known that a big planning issue was going to be difficult. And I don't know the details I've read before, but I haven't read the full details of what I take to be an inflatable water sport, something like that. I mean, I would never in my wildest dreams have thought that that would be suitable for Barton's Point. There are two things I would argue that is needed there. One is the access route should be widened because it's not fit for purpose at the moment. You can't even get a car and a cycle there. And it needs to be 2 lanes so the cars can come in and out. The other thing is, and we know this, the boathouse. It's very nice, very quaint, but it's not fit for purpose. It needs to be bigger. And what I would suggest is perhaps councillors and officers have a look at the coastal park on the lower road at Gillingham. I think not the Strand, but the one at Gillingham, which to my mind is a perfect use of a maritime area where it has a visitor centre with a cafe and a place where and toilets as well. And the natural environment is left alone. I'm just really disappointed that islanders and visitors to Sheppey have seen the last 3 years wasted. I just think it's appalling, but I'm glad in a way that the ecological report has been published. And we know now what we can't do. I think the next phase is to find out what we can do. And I was annoyed that everything was done in complete secrecy. I mean, many times when I was working for the newspaper, I asked lots of people what had happened. And the answer came back, we can't tell you, it's commercially sensitive. But even if we had an inkling of what was being discussed, a lot of us would have said that is not going to happen. So again, thank you to the officers and the councillors for looking at it and seeing what is possible. But I'm just really frustrated that it's taken 3 years to decide to come up with something which most islanders use anyway. Thank you.
I do propose this goes forward to standing item for this committee because I think we need to keep on top of this. Councillor Wilson.
So, thanks, Chair. My real concern is the order in which way things have been done at this point. So, me, and for lots of my residents that talk to me about it all the time, the ecology comes first, not last. And this doesn't seem to have been the way that this project has been approached so far. So I'm pleased to see the report come back to actually refocus our energy on how we interact with our natural environment. And actually, I don't know many people who don't want the swans to be at Barnes Point. We want the herons, we want the cormorants, we want all of those things, and we want the water quality to be right down there as well. And so lots of different, groups can enjoy being at Barnes Point, including the wildlife. I would like to see going forward that we refocus on it being a country park and getting a green flag and seeing the parity for Barnes Point that is already enjoyed by the country parks in Faversham and the country parks in Sittingbourne. I think there's some really clear goals and clear achievements we can have through Barnes Point, but I've got to question the process for 3 years. I can't imagine why this report wasn't requested when the project was floated initially, which wasn't even when I was elected. It was that far away. So I think there are some questions to answer around it in a positive manner so that we can not repeat this again. Because if we're looking at the spend of public money, then there has to have been a spend to get us this far. And if we don't learn the lessons from this sort of process now, maybe we are going to repeat. So those are my points around it. But at the same time, I'll be disappointed to see the camping go at Barton's Point because I know lots of people have enjoyed it. But who knew that was going to have a detrimental effect? It's really useful to have that with us. Thanks for coming this evening and to talk about it as well. Because I agree with John, the flow of information about the project hasn't been what we would have expected, I think.
I think perhaps it's an item for Spirit at some point. Councillor Moore.
Just wanted to bring up that whatever happens going forward is not going to affect the seabeds who use it, which is an absolutely amazing group for youngsters again on the island. So just really bringing up again, making sure that we're not going to with whatever happens down there and prevent the youngsters having some opportunity, because the opportunity that the scouts, the sea cadets, all of them groups give the children is, it's amazing the life skills they get to be independent. And Barton's Point is one of the only places really that is probably fit to do them sorts of activities that the sea cadets do. So I think it needs to, whatever happens to it going forward, as long as it can, it needs to community groups.
Insurance.
I'm not here to give any decisions or anything tonight. I'm here to listen. So we will be putting the options forward for councillors to debate, as we did first time round.
But as a trustee, it's excellent. We could flash on that.
Do we have an idea of how much the whole process over that 3 years has actually cost the council for it to have to now go back to sort of the drawing board?
So I haven't done the calculation in terms of officer time, etc. But obviously we have the cost of the ecological survey, but not a huge amount of money is being spent in terms of undertaking the expressions of interest, etc. outside of officer time is already funded for this and other activities.
Can I ask how much the report was?
You can, but I don't know.
Okay.
So, okay, you could submit a freedom of information. I'm sure I'd have to tell you, but I didn't commission it. So
Okay, thank you, Nigel. Thank you.
Right, we move on to agenda item 11. You'll find your agenda packs an update on the local government reorganisation, a fuller update by September's meeting. Does anyone have any questions that can't wait until September?
What? You love the voice there, it was.
Oh, does anyone have any questions that can't wait until September on the local government reorganisation?
Chair, our councils, the borough councils don't go for anything.
Borough councillors do regularly get briefings on this, and the parish councillors were invited to 2 sessions where they could be briefed. I think it might be limited to say 2 councillors per parish or town council.
What is in September?
What is in September?
That's when the full briefing on the local government reorganisation. So I don't know if you were here when Lisa spoke about devolution. It's really sort of the next stages on that. There'll be a fuller update. Certainly at the moment, I think until November, that's when the decision is going to be made on unitaries and the positioning of unitaries, which areas are going to be within each unitary. There may be more idea of what's happening in the September meeting, but decision won't be made until November. So that's why there isn't a fuller update at the moment, because the progress hasn't been made.
So it's September.
Yeah, more sure. We have a senior officer to speak on that.
But there'll be the lead officer. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Whiteman.
Just a quick one, for members who weren't there and for parishes don't know, the Policy and Resources Committee last night took the first step in having a community government review in Swale, which is a review of all the parishes, for example, possibly the creation of a new parish at halfway or absorbing halfway into one of the existing parishes or whatever it turns out to be. But the first important step of that review was taken last night at PLR, and they've agreed to move that forward now. And over the next few months, that will take. And I just think it feeds into the local government reorganisation, because as the local authority that looks after Sheppey becomes bigger, we may join up with Swale potentially with Thanet or Swale Medway and Gravesend. No. The island becomes a much smaller fish in a much bigger sea. And I think it's going to be really important that particularly the parish and the town council of Sheppey, you start to work together as a body to stand up for the island, together with whoever gets elected to represent the island in future years, because it will happen in just a few years' time. So I think it's really important that the council has now taken that first step to get that reorganisation, to look at the organisation of town and parish councils on the island and the rest of Australia, because I'm concerns about the island. And I think it's an important step. And I think it would be nice if perhaps we have an update of that in the September meeting as part of that local government review update. We can tell everybody where we got to with that review.
Yeah.
Just so you're clear, sent out a questionnaire to all parish and town councils, asking for our views on the devolution and the reorganisation, which we've all got to get back in, and then Cal will be able to do a representation kind of on behalf of us
So we will get to kind of have our opinions and.
What did you think about that training this morning, the count training?
No, that's for afterwards. Every time through the chair. Lady next year.
For me?
Yeah, yeah.
Me, you want to remember, we're not gonna have the children that follows my children. So how are you gonna keep everything that you're planning, should be planning now for the next 10 years? But even if you build the houses, there'll be nobody living in them. Because they're only having 2 children, mother had 7. I had 3 because of the pill. I could have had 8. These things got to be taken into consideration. And will the doctors come down there, or will they stay in the big cities?
That's what I do now.
To get a bigger money, if you know what I mean, because of the expense what London is.
My nan was one of 11. Councillor Brinkman.
Does the organisation, and the, demise of Clough Forest Council mean that we can no longer have an island forum? Because actually, I think this is the most useful, part of our democracy that we've got. And as you know, I'm Sheppey that way with Greenway, and we have councillors right across the island on our committee. It's the best thing that we could have, in order to get things done.
Totally agree. That is up to the next authority to take over from Swale, but the Island Forum will continue, which is separate things for this. There's nothing to stop parish and town councils getting together quarterly and thrashing things out. I think parish and town councils now have to step up more as Swale disappeared, because as has been said, we're going to be a small fish in a bigger pond. Jim?
So, had the same meeting and asked for it, about a month ago, and there was 2 or 4